Despite Slipknot being one of the most successful artists in the history of heavy metal music, it seems now more than ever the band are beginning to receive negative feedback and attention from the same fans that have supported them for almost 25 years now. The band seem to struggle to avoid controversy, from million-dollar lawsuits for allegedly purposely profiting off an ex-bandmate's death to what seems like a continuous replacement of classic band members with a little to no explanation. It seems that Slipknot now more than ever are being considered more so a soulless entity akin to Disney or much of modern pop, as opposed to the group of misfits that have been so revered by fans for so many years now. This video is for entertainment purposes only, form your own opinion. So the soulless entity comparison may seem a little bit over the top, but actually it isn't a new concept for Slipknot, with the band being accused of being a corporate clone since the very beginning of their rise to fame, specifically due to their similarity to contemporary nu metal band Mushroomhead. Mushroomhead would begin donning masks around 2 years before Slipknot would even form, gaining a decent amount of success. According to Mushroomhead's original singer, the band would be approached by eventual Slipknot label Roadrunner Records for a deal, although the band would decline due to the lack of money presented in the deal and the band's unwillingness to share merchandise shares with the label. This has led to accusations specifically from Mushroomhead's ex-singer of Slipknot being Roadrunner's attempt to make their own Mushroomhead to try and mimic the success, with Corey Taylor allegedly being aware of this and justifying the decision by saying there was too much money on offer to turn down. Whether this accusation is true or not, it has still led to various individuals throughout Slipknot's history seeing the band more so as a commercial entity than anything organic or natural. So if it's been a common opinion since the band's formation, why has it become such a problem for the band now? Well, I think it all becomes pretty obvious just by viewing the band's merchandise website.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Do this for me quickly. Try locking eyes upon literally any object in the room you're in right now. Type that into the merch website and they'll probably sell one with the Slipknot logo slapped on the front of it. On the surface, merchandise seems like an entirely good thing. Musicians are able to make more money and the fans are able to be horrendously bullied at school for wearing their favourite band's t-shirt. But in the case of Slipknot, I see it as the band edging closer to being entirely the corporate brand I mentioned earlier. It's obvious no thought is put into the merchandise by the actual band members or people associated, which in my eyes loses the product's connection to the original art. It's no different from Mickey Mouse being slapped on every single item imaginable. It's just done to make the band as much money as humanly possible. It creates an inauthenticity and huge disconnect between the fans and the band, which is only strengthened by the monolithic concert settings and of course the large amounts of controversy the band has received due to parting ways with many iconic members. The pattern of the departure of iconic band members with little to no explanation towards the fan base would begin with the alleged firing of original drummer Joey Jordison in 2013. Jordison was obviously one of the very first members within the band and remained a pivotal part of not only the music but the image as a whole for decades. The original statement from the band would cite personal reasons, but it was later revealed that a neurological disorder was at fault. It is alleged that the firing of Jordison would come via email, with the drummer being given little to no respect in regards to being let go from the band he had worked years to help create. Jordison would receive little to no mention from the band until his unfortunate death in 2021, when the band allegedly utilised his image during the lead up to their next album. This has resulted in a lawsuit from Joey Jordison's estate, alleging that Slipknot have used Jordison's image in an attempt to profit from his death through the promotion of an album. The band publicly stated that Jordison's death crept up on them during the recording of the new record, The End So Far, which in my eyes is essentially advertising the potential of a darker album, using the tragedy of Jordison's death as a way to sell an edgier product. However, form your own opinion on the situation, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. The lawsuit continues with Jordison's estate claiming that Sean Crahan and Corey Taylor have also profited off Jordison's possessions by displaying them within a travelling Slipknot museum. It is alleged by Jordison's family that the faces of the band Taylor and Crahan hadn't gotten in touch to share condolences despite claiming they had online. This suggests that the band see iconic band members and fan favourites more so as replaceable assets than human beings, which is further backed up if you you look at the other recent controversies. For example, the release of the replacement drummer that came after Jordison, Jay Weinberg, with the reason for the departure being entirely creative, and the band, specifically Sean Crahan, stating that they wanted to go in a new direction, therefore needed a new drummer. This would again come out of nowhere for Weinberg, with little respect given to the drummer after almost 10 years of performing for the band. This has become a sort of trend for Slipknot, with little to no explanation given for the departures of other iconic members such as Chris Fehn and Craig Jones, which has begun to irritate fans, who would obviously criticize Slipknot's recent decision to part ways with Weinberg on all of their social medias, which led Slipknot to actually switch off their comment sections until the controversy blew over, which is perhaps one of the most egregious examples of Slipknot's actions as a business being the antithesis of their image and implied persona. This brings me on to another reason why Slipknot may begin to see a decline of popularity or relevance: their constant attempt and what seems like inability to sweep any controversy under the rug. A clear example is the Jordison thing I mentioned earlier, but we can also look towards the recent departures of Craig Jones, Chris Fehn, and even Jay Weinberg. It seems the band will say and do the bare minimum when releasing iconic band members, with their focus usually being the announcement of a new band member with a shiny new mask and brand new merchandise opportunities. This can often make the band seem even worse in the eyes of the public, especially when these ex-band members come out with information such as Chris Fenn's lawsuits regarding alleged pay disputes and mistreatment. And regardless of whether these claims are factual or false, their continuous painting of Slipknot as a heartless entity that only seems to care about money as opposed to ethics and the actual music isn't doing the band any favors in the court of public opinion. So you may be thinking at this point in the video, what is the actual problem? The band is still playing countless sold out arenas, selling what is likely millions in merchandise, and remain perhaps the most popular band within metal. In order to explain why this may become a huge issue for the band's future success, we need to briefly look into what I describe as core and casual audiences. Core audiences, especially in music, understand ways in which bands are able to make real money: merchandise sales, physical copies, and concerts, whereas casual fans are more likely just to listen to the projects and songs on streaming services, which obviously pays much less. Core fans are also easily able to see through change and discern whether it's artistic and natural or sneaky with the pursuit of money in mind. And despite the fact core fans may take up a small percentage of an entire fan base, it's surprising how much money and support comes in specifically from them. They are the beating heart of a music fan base. The reduction in this fan base due to a lack of authenticity may not seem like a big deal as of now, but it becomes a bigger worry when we inspect the cultural shift that is happening within the consumption of media and entertainment at the moment. It seems now more than ever consumers are craving authenticity in the products they consume, with the prevalence of social media giving audience members insight into the individuals behind the music. As years have turned into decades for Slipknot, the personality of the members have taken a back foot to the prevalence of the product and brand of Slipknot. Whether this is due to the inherent risk that may come with showing a personality to a continuously divided world, or a lack of passion for a project that has perhaps gone on for too long, or maybe they're just getting too old with different priorities. Regardless of the reason, it's already seen an effect with many of the young fans who get into Slipknot today, focusing their attention on the older music and interviews, despite the fact the band is still very much alive and actively producing music. Another issue I see is the fact that the band are specifically avoiding the light-hearted comedic aspect that used to be a staple of the band. Let's take for example the music video for Spit It Out. The video consists of each of the Slipknot members acting out scenes from The Shining. Obviously there is a horror aspect and it's still Slipknot, but it's light-hearted and not overly serious for a group that is just realistically goofballs in Halloween costumes playing metal music. If we now look towards some of the more modern videos, literally look at any in the past 10 years and it'll pretty much be the same: overly edgy, gory, and most tragically formulaic. The band has lost its edge for creativity that it had early on in their career, with much of what they put out nowadays sounding and looking like it's had to go through 6 layers of management before being approved for release. Many fans blame the ego of Sean Crahan for the stagnance in creativity, which is a possibility. Crahan, also known as Clown, has been the driving force of the band creatively since its inception, with many statements regarding the band coming out via him, although this isn't confirmed. Most problems mentioned in this video wouldn't matter if the art being put out was consistently good, but unfortunately the music and overall presence of Slipknot has had a consistent downfall of quality, personality, and soul in my opinion. I feel this can be easily explained by the direction the band seem to be heading. It's been hinted in various interviews from Taylor and Crayon that Slipknot is slowly forming into a touring live show, more akin to the Blue Man Group as opposed to a band, with the vast majority of people playing with them on tour actually being hired employees as opposed to band members. Crayon has even hinted at the idea of phasing out albums completely, with new music only coming in the form of singles. It's obvious the music doesn't matter as much anymore, and it's likely going to get to a point where it doesn't matter who is in the band, and the entire thing is going to be carried by the brand and the idea of Slipknot as opposed to the music and art. This makes perfect sense in a business aspect. The band can quite literally go on forever, but there's obviously a trade-off, a loss of personality, soul and creativity. It's no longer a band really, it's fully become a brand where the stage show and brand image come before the music in terms of importance, and I'm sure one day each and every original member will be replaced by fucking child versions, you know, like Muppet Babies. We'll get Slipknot babies airing on Disney Plus with every member looking like a fucking Funko Pop.